I mean, the way we were doing it was there'd be, used tires in the garbage can. So we were always the guys to run the stuff out of the garbage can, whether it's used tires, bent bars we'd take home and straighten, just because the amount of stuff I was going through. Like I said, we were literally taking clutch plates out, and I'd seen my dad scraping them on the cement when we're at tracks and stuff. Jet stepped it out. He's the freaking gnarliest dude right now, and he looks so methodical when he rides. Like, he doesn't look like he's just pinned and getting sketchy and sending it.
Yeah, but with all that being said, you're probably going to smoke him on a two-stroke at Washougal.
If I can keep from getting lapped by Jet when I'm on the two-stroke at Washougal, that'll be like a win for me.
What about CR500s? How do they? What place in your heart does the CR500 have?
The CR500 has a good place in my heart, man. Like, they're such, killer bikes. Like, out of the box, like, the things are so fun to ride because, like we were just saying, those steel-framed Hondas with the big seats, like, pretty easy to ride and super fun. My issue with it is, like, I would ride the thing every day. I keep bending that frame though, and we switch the frame, and then we gusset it and get it all good again, and then we bend the frame again. But that's just part of the vintage fun sometimes. That's just what happens. And I see a lot of dudes putting those bikes in aluminum frames and everything, and yeah, shaky with weird geometry, but I see why they do it for sure. And I've heard there's some kits to do it like pretty easily now, but I like the the 90s feel of how it is, and riding it like they were back in the day. But the bike that I want to try and ride is I've never ridden a KX500, and I've heard they're amazing with the power valve and everything. Because the CR like absolutely rips. My buddy Brian, he did the motor in it, the porting and everything, and he spent like 6 months making this CR500 that he put his life into basically every day, and he was shimming the transmission just right and everything. And so my CR500 is just absolutely freaking dialed, thanks to him. And everybody's like, you gotta try KX, so I gotta see how that stacks up compared to that.
So what are your tips to riding a CR500? Because it's such a unique bike. I don't feel like you can just ride it like any other bike. So if you had to just explain to people the best way to ride one of those bikes, what would be your advice? Well,
first off, check your environment around you, because you might be bouncing off of it, honestly. But, the 500, you got to respect it, because, it feels mellow, especially in the stock form. They have the big flywheel effect where they kind of spin up slow. But man, that thing, once it's going, like with that frame being so flexy and stuff, if it rubber bands, it will throw you on the ground like pretty easily. and I always see people debating, if a 450 is faster or CR500. For raw power, the 500 is definitely like faster. It's gnarly to ride. 450. You'll physically go faster on it, 9 times out of 10, just because it's easier to ride and all that in the stock form. But the 500, if you respect it, then you're dialed. I see dudes rip those things in the trails all the time, even, and it takes a different animal to do that, but gnarly.
So whereabouts are you riding that bike in the power? Like, what's the strategy when it comes to actually getting around a track on those things?
Right in the mid, because I see a lot of guys, they're short shifting them too much. They're not even getting on the power band. They don't have a power valve on those bikes, so you kind of got to run it in the mid. Obviously, it falls on its face pretty quickly when you rev it out too much, being that big a bore. So right in that mid-range power, you have to shift it a lot. Like, you hear guys, you have to shift to 125 so much. CR500, you got to shift that thing the whole time, you know, brop, just to make sure that you're in that power perfectly and not, you know, gonna, you know, spin or lug or bog. Which, I mean, that's the fun of a two-stroke, though. So that's what makes them so fun.
Do you ever think about the guys like Jean-Michel Bale and Jeff Ward, like Jeff Leask, those guys that just were complete animals back in the day on those 500s?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I watch those videos on YouTube all the time of those guys back in the day, and, you know, like Danny Magoo Chandler on his, you know, RC 500 and all that, like, unreal how gnarly those guys were getting on those things. You know, like Jeff Ward, he was taming the beast, and he wasn't like, you know, some super tall guy or anything.
Yeah.
So, you know, huge respect to those guys. I mean, and they were riding them on, you know, those weren't prep tracks. I mean, you see Carlsbad and those, like, it looks like they're riding those suckers on ice. And so it's pretty cool to see. I mean, huge respect to those dudes.
Man, I don't know if you would have ever seen it, but there's a video on YouTube of the 1992 Motocross of Nations. And Jean-Michel, have you seen it?
Yep.
Dude,
yeah,
Jean-Michel
unreal.
Bale. I've raced that track, and it is so gnarly, dude. And like Jean-Michel Bale literally looks like Jet Lawrence, just like hopping around that whole track, standing up. He smoked everybody on an absolute animal of a bike.
Yeah, unreal. I mean, I would love to see, you know, one of those bikes just rip again. One of those factory 500s. I want to see somebody on one again, just to be around it. Even, you know, if I could go back in time, I'd definitely watch, you know, 500 National. I think it'd be unreal. I mean, there's 500s, bring them back.
Is there a part of you that sort of thinks that you were born in the wrong era? Like, you would have loved to be one of the guys that was like racing. Maybe like, what is the era then? Is it like the 89 to 95, like the end of the 80s, the start of the 90s? Is that like your sweet spot where you wish you could have raced?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, mid to late 80s to early 90s, that definitely looks to me like the most fun era, just with all the two strokes and the development that was going on. And, you know, those guys were just sending it. They weren't trying to finesse those things around the track, and they were just going for it, which is really cool to see. Like, these days, you know, everybody's really smooth going around that thing. You'll see guys sending it and stuff, but not like the two-stroke days where they had to make that thing have momentum all the way around the track, no matter what, whether they were bouncing off a dude or a tree or what.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.